welcome back to my channel Curls Books and Bites. My name is Mohita and I make food and book related videos on this channel. And today, after a very long time, I will be making another book related video. So my ideal YouTube week would be where I post one food and one book related video on the channel. But the thing is, my schedule is slightly askew right now, so I am going to ask you to bear with me. Yeah, I'm the kind of person who enjoys her own puns, even if other people don't like it. So anyway, today I am going to talk about two of my favorite, absolute favorite books of 2018 so far. I'm saying so far obviously because we have 5 more months to go and I don't know where my bookish adventure will take me. So the first book that I am going to nag at you for picking up, if you haven't already picked up, more than recommend, is okay, there it is. The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. And the second book that I'm going to absolutely rave about is The Help by Catherine Stockett. Now, both of these books are absolutely my favorite for the year 2018, at least so far. I don't know which one is like on the top and which one is on the bottom, because both these two are completely different stories and the writing style is completely different, but both of them are brilliantly written, and the topics that are chosen as well as the way they are presented are so brilliantly done that it's very difficult for me to tell you which one sort of tops the first position, bags the first position for me. So anyway, I'm going to start reviewing, discussing or raving about this book now, which is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. So The Nightingale is based in this World War II-esque, no, not esque, it is based in the World War II time period, and it actually talks about like this estranged family. So there are 3 members of this family, father and 2 daughters, and none of them are really on good terms with each other, and they have a lot of communication problems happening and a lot of misunderstandings going on between them. And the book sort of spans the entire period of the World War. So the book begins with the beginning of the World War and ends with it. And then there is also like a parallel timeline going on, which takes place, which is the current timeline of the book, which takes place somewhere in the 1990s. And I think the timing, the way the writer has managed to hop between the World War II time period and the current timeline is absolutely amazing. Like, it took my breath away. So about these 2 sisters, the younger of them, who is called Isabel, she has sort of grown up by herself. She doesn't really have anybody who has taken care of her. So the mother in the family expires, I think a very long time ago. And their father was a part of World War I, which changed him a lot. And he actually discarded his 2 daughters and sent them away to boarding schools and sent them away to some aunt. And then what happened was Isabel also sort of decided not to take, Vianne, who was the elder of the 2 sisters, also sort of decided not to take care of Isabel because she was gripped in her own sort of sadness and sorrow. So Isabel, who is the younger of the 2 sisters, grows up by herself, and she is rebellious. She has a lot of energy in her, and she is stubborn and really strong-headed sort of a girl, and she often finds herself being thrown from one boarding school to the next. And at the same time, Vianne there sets up her own family in a small village in France. So the entire book takes place in France. So you get to see a lot of French resistance sort of happening in the book. So Vianne, who is the elder of the 2 sisters, has a husband and a daughter. Now in the beginning of the book, the husband gets sent away to war, and Vianne's life sort of turns upside down. She is a local small town teacher, and then there are a lot of responsibilities that just get thrown at her. So this book deals with 2 different kind of women discovering 2 different kind of strengths. So Vianne's struggle is more like finding a way to put her energy and her rebellion into something, and then she finds out about the French resistance, and she ends up joining like these underground sort of activities in the freedom movement of France, and she helps so basically she helps these people who are working together underground against the Nazi government who have invaded upon France. Vianne's fight, however, is more Rianne's fight and struggle, however, is more on the, I wouldn't say they're subtle, but they are more about morals and ideals. So she sort of finds herself in a fix in choosing between a life with ideals and the safety of her family. And it's amazing to see these two women progress from completely different people in the beginning of the book to someone who are to two different sisters who are like so powerful and so strong in their own way. And you see them grow individually as well as together, and it is such a beautifully written book. What I really liked about this book the most is the writing, obviously, because the writing is like, it's straight as an arrow, sans embellishments, no flowery language. It's just bold and strong and powerful, and at the same time it's also gentle. And now for the part that moved me the most. So this book has obviously has a lot of these, horrendous things that happened during the World War II. So in this book I learned that when the Nazis invaded France, and when the soldier battalions were sent to these different villages in France in order to put people in order and in order to govern them, these soldiers used to just take over the local houses. So they would either make the people who owned the houses get out of their own houses, or they would settle in with them, which was probably even worse, because then the house owners had to, they were probably, they were bullied at gunpoint most of the times. So you get to see a lot of that. And plus the way the current timeline is intertwined with the World War time period, it is so moving. So here's the thing, so in the current timeline, you know that there is a woman who is writing her own current story right now, and then there is also a son that she has, but you don't really know who this woman is. Like, you can figure out that she is somehow related to the World War II events that happen in the book. She might be one of the two sisters, but if she is, then who is she? And that is revealed only in the last chapter of the book. And that revelation, despite all the sad and horrific and terrible things that take place in the entire book, somehow I did not cry through any of those. But when I read the final chapter of this book, and when finally the identity of that woman was revealed to me, I just shut this book, I closed my eyes, and I could feel the tears coming, and I was crying for the next 10 minutes, and my husband was looking at me like I was crazy. The room was probably flooded with my tears, but it was so effective and it was so impactful. So this book stirred up so many emotions in me, and the story is so well written. I mean, I would suggest that you pick this book up, but you do not rush through this book. So pick this up when you have some good amount of time on your hand and you can invest yourself nicely. The thing is, you are going to get emotionally invested in this book. So yeah, you see like these two different sisters with completely two different personalities, and evolving into two different personalities again. So please pick this book up whenever you have the time, and try to make that as soon as possible. Alright, moving on to the next book, The Help. It's upside down. The Help by Catherine Stockett. I have nothing but deep adoration for this book. So this book deals with the African American maids who work and who raise white children. So it's based in Mississippi in the 1960s, and this I learned from the book, when it was probably the worst time and place for Black Americans to be. So while the rest of South America was becoming more and more, was warming up to the African American community, Mississippi was still leagues behind. And it was so bad. So this I read somewhere later on after finishing the book. It was so bad that if you were an African American in the 1960s in Mississippi, and if you were walking on the street, and if you saw like a white man or woman coming across in front of you from the street, then you either looked away or you looked down. Because if you looked them in the eye, then you would probably be dead the next day, because that was regarded as an act of, I don't know, violence, law breaking. It was like an unsaid rule. So yeah, it was kind of a threat if you look them in the eye. And the irony of it was that the black person would end up dead. So this book approaches this topic so well, and from a completely different perspective. So it basically follows the story of this white women charity group, which is more like a power play really, and it's so pretentious that what you see is they are trying to basically collect this huge donation to give out to the kids in Africa, to the underprivileged African tribes and African communities in Africa. At the same time, they have these black women working for them and nursing their kids and doing all their housework, and they want to build like a different toilet for them because they do not want the black Americans to use their same house toilet. So that is where the story begins, and that is where you kind of start feeling this this unrest about the unfairness that's happening in the book. Now, this book is written from the perspective of three people. I'm going to keep this book away. This book is written from the point of perspective of three people. The first is Aibileen. Aibileen is a black American maid who is working for this employer and taking care of her kid. Now, Aibileen's character is so endearing. Like, I would want to be raised by someone as beautiful, especially with such a beautiful heart and with such a generous and such a loving heart as Aibileen's. So the thing is, she has lost her own son, and this is there in the blurb, so I'm not spoiling anything for you. So Aibileen loses her own son, and she kind of finds solace in raising this particular white kid that she is raising right now. And the way she teaches her things and the way she teaches her about life, it is so enduring, it is so beautiful and moving. And you know, despite all the unfair treatment that Aibileen receives, she makes sure that the unfair treatment that her employer is giving her does not hamper or does not alter the way she raises her kid in any way. As much as she bears with the unfair treatment of her employer, the mother of the kid, she just keeps on loving the kid more and more. And that is so beautifully written. The second perspective is Minnie. Minnie is again another black American maid, and she has her employer is a piece of work, and their relationship is so amazingly written. And Minnie, oh my god, Minnie has like a big mouth, and that gets her into trouble, but at the same time she is an amazing cook, and which is why people are looking at hiring her at all times. So Minnie's character is like, you know, she knows that if she says something that it's probably going to be bad for her job, but at the same time she is so angry, and she is like, she's so sarcastic. She has to control her mouth because she's filled with these comebacks that she really wants to throw at her unfair white employers, and it is so amazing to read her character. Oh man, I don't know which one I like more, Minnie or Aibileen, because Minnie is completely the opposite of Aibileen, but at the same time they're the best of friends. And the third character who kind of makes things happen in the book is that of Skeeter. She is another white lady who is part of this charity group, but she sees all these things happening, and she recognizes these as unfair. She recognizes these as something that are not correct, and she wants to fix them. And the way she fixes them is really absolutely brilliantly done. So I'm not going to tell you how she does it, but she just takes up a project is what I will tell you for now. So she kind of takes up this project, and that involves her talking to these black American maids a lot, which raises a lot of eyebrows because people don't understand what work could she have with them. And that is how these three people come together and a lovely friendship forms. And this book is like, poignant, but at the same time it is hilarious. There are so many funny moments in this book. There are so many moments that are going to move you deeply. I was like clutching at my heart and sighing when I was reading this book, and I was physically involved in this book so much. And at times I was like in a laughter riot because of the way it's written. Oh yeah, about the writing, right? The writing is so realistic, and it is mainly because firstly because of the South American accent, and also because of the Black American accent that Catherine Stockett has used in this book. So whenever the perspectives switch to the Black American maids, the writing style changes, and it might take a little bit of getting used to that writing style, but once you do, I think maybe after the first chapter or so, you will very easily get used to it. So yeah, is there anything else remaining? I don't think so. I think I have raved enough about the two books. So if you haven't read either of these two, I implore you to pick these two books up. Again, do not rush into them because they deserve a lot of attention. And sometimes I think, what have I done? I must have done something good to deserve these two books. So yeah, these are my absolute favorite in the year 2018 so far, and please pick these books up and let me know how you like them. If you have already read them, and if you want to add something of value, do leave them in the comments below. I read all your comments, even if I don't reply to all of them. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down. But do subscribe to my channel, and also make sure that you press on that little bell icon so that every time I post a new video, you get notified. Alright, that's it. Next, I will be posting a food video, so keep watching, and do watch my other videos too. Watch my food videos as well as my other book videos, and let me know how you like my channel. Bye!